Zons Flowers has been creating holiday memories for over 90 years. Happy holidays from Zons. Shop online at zonsflowers.com. That's ZAHNS flowers.com, or give us a call for delivery at 386-252-3615. Zons Flowers.
Now, more of Mark Bernier replayed today. Highlights of today's show recorded earlier on FM 93.5, AM 1150, WNDB.
We begin with my good friend Bob Ney, former member of Congress and reporting for Talk Media News. Joins us live today on WNDB, where the UN General Assembly voted overwhelmingly to condemn the president's Jerusalem decision. Bob, is it true that the president's response was, "You don't like it? I'll cut off your foreign aid"?
Well, he was saying all kinds of things, and he did through our ambassador, Nikki Haley. She said, this is how she said it, "I'm going to tell the president, I'm going to watch who votes against us, and I'm going to tell him." And then he said, he would take repercussions. It was just the way she said it, Mark, that was sort of like, okay, I'm going to report on you. The president sees who votes against us. Then there was the argument about how the UN spends its money, and it at one time had a $100 million party. And, so there's a lot of objections to the UN. But this one was, if it was 10 people, but if it's 128, it's a lot of foreign aid retaliation.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know if that is the reality or whether it's a knee-jerk reaction from the president. But to pause for a moment, I want to tell you, Bob, I'm very impressed with the performance of Ambassador Haley. I have to say, embarrassingly, that I didn't think she could cut it. I didn't think she had the experience or the drive to be able to do this job. She has been so skilled at how she has handled some tough people and at the same time keeping balance with the president. She's not a lapdog, if you don't mind that expression, but she is loyal to the president, but she is her own person, and I have tremendous respect for her for that reason.
I agree with you. There are 3 people in this administration that I thought are really not going to stand out at all. She was one of them. I felt she would just be kind of a right-wing, marked person, that type of thing. But she's one of them. Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, has been a pleasant surprise. I didn't think, as head of an oil company, he would function in that position. He has. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she can hold her own in the press conferences in a different way, than Sean Spicer. But I agree, Nikki Haley, she's just outstanding. I think she's got a future in a bigger office down the road.
I think so. Republicans can look to her for the future. Excellent. Let's talk about the North Korean situation. Apparently, we're now learning that a North Korean soldier defected to South Korea via the DMZ. Does this have anything to do with the earlier report that I got that there were warning shots that were being fired?
Yes, he decided to defect. There was a fog that came in, which would help him, obviously, if he was going to do this, and others have done this. And then they fired a series of warning shots from the south, that protects the DMZ as we do, and they fired because the north was continuing on trying to get him. It's one thing if the North Koreans would fire at him. It's another to start to come over the perimeter where they're not supposed to be. So the South continued to fire warning shots above their heads. I think, obviously, North Korea is very upset anytime anybody defects because they're going to give a lot of information. It's a very closed hermit society over there.
Well, and this happened 5 weeks ago. There was a North Korean soldier who suffered some critical gunshot wounds when he tried to dash across. 2 North Korean citizens were found in a fishing boat on Wednesday. They were trying to defect. So there's a mass message going to the rest of the world. Nobody wants to be there.
Oh, I know they don't, and that's why I've also argued that the military themselves, if they could get rid of this guy, I think they would. I really do. I think if he was replaced, if something happened to him, that the military would step in. I'm not so sure he has many supporters. I mean, he tried to kill his brother,
Yeah. Bob, there hasn't been anything about missiles from the North Koreans in the last few days or last week and a half. What are they doing? Biding their time? Reloading? What are they doing?
Well, you never know what he's going to do. I don't know if we can predict him. He's almost, probably not a way to put this, but he's almost childlike sometimes. I think he's been raised in isolation. It's almost like a little kingdom for him in toys. And so I'm not so sure he has a planned strategy of how he does things. And, he does this just to show how powerful he is, but he also does it somehow to make his people think he's great, because he's convinced them, since they're isolated completely, that the world's out after them. He's starving them to make these missiles, literally starving them. So I don't know that he has a method to his madness, although I do suspicion sometimes China tells him to cool it down because they don't want trouble over in that region of the world. Sometimes I think maybe China leans on him.
Yeah. Hey, something for you to think about or look at after we finish today. Troubling story. It's not in your package, I don't think. A troubling story that we found reported through Drudge from The Sun in London about Russian military exercises that happened in September. I haven't seen anything on television about it, but apparently it was a very aggressive plan that Putin put together. He says he's within his rights to do this, but it involved a wholesale invasion of Europe, including bombing in Germany. And they flew sortie missions close to the Netherlands and Germany, came very close to their borders. We don't know anything about this, but apparently the photos don't lie. What do you make of this?
I guess it's Putin just trying to show how strong he is or how unpredictable he is. Yeah. It's been, to me, very alarming. And you're in Florida, and, of course, everybody remembers the Bay of Pigs and, Cuba and America and what all happened and how it built up, and we were kids having to go under desks in case there was a nuclear attack. So you kind of remember those things years ago. And in this case, it's constant flexing of muscles by Putin, the Crimea, the invasion, this type of outrageous type of war game. And I just think he's, showing how powerful he is and not to mess with him. But I always fear it's just going to be some bad escalation sometime, or maybe in Syria or something. That I would hate to see our two countries get into a collision like we were headed 2 years back.
Agreed. Also in your package today, who writes the talking points for these people? We've got 3 senators that put out apparently erroneous information about if average family, the middle-class family earning less than $86,000 would see a tax increase under the Republican tax reform plan, and it's all different numbers. Kamala Harris, Robert Casey, Jeff Merkley. Take it, Bob. What does all this mean?
Well, this means that somebody got fired, is what it means, on somebody's staff, because what they did, there was a document. It was a Democratic Policy Committee document, okay? And then it was turned into a report by the Democrats on the Joint Economic Committee. So, then, by the way, this correction came from the Washington Post, so it's not, can't be blamed on some right-wing publication going after Democratic side, because this is a huge error. And so what they did, they took one page where it said, if enacted, this was the line, if enacted, the Republican tax proposal would saddle 8 million households that earn up to $86,000 with an average tax increase average of $794. They were looking at some high earner states. Now, the original report referred to the 8 million receiving this. Somehow, when they communicated it to give it to all these people, which they do out there, we went through it, here's what you say, so you're all on the same page. Well, they communicated that this related to every American, every single one of them. So you've got the senators all saying the same thing. I mean, it's a complete, we won't say lie, because they didn't lie. They were given inaccurate information, but it's just completely inaccurate.
FM 93.5, AM 1150, WNDB Daytona Beach. Proud to be locally owned, a Southern Stone station.
Trying to make the deadline. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The Senate now voting after the House narrowly passed a budget plan that will keep the government running through the middle of January.
Almost every federal program stays funded at current spending levels till January 19th, with the exception of a handful of Pentagon programs that get small budget increases. That's even though some Republicans wish the military got a beefier boost. The continuing resolution also puts automatic Medicare cuts on the shelf until 2019 and funds the Children's Health Insurance Program through March. Both those provisions enjoy broad bipartisan support.
Fox's Peter Ducey at the Capitol. The plan also includes $2.1 billion in emergency aid to the Department of Veterans Affairs. A surprise visit by Vice President Mike Pence to troops in Afghanistan.
And never doubt that your mission here in Afghanistan is vital to the safety and security of the American people.
And the Vice President telling the troops they will never allow bureaucracy to stand in the way of victory. Vice President Pence limped out of the country quietly yesterday after the Republican celebration of the passage of tax reform. Tough talk from U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, after the General Assembly passed a non-binding resolution calling on President Trump to withdraw his declaration of the decision to move the U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem.
The decision does nothing to harm peace efforts. Rather, the President's decision reflects the will of the American people and our right as a nation to choose the location of our embassy. There is no need to describe it further.
After the vote, President Trump said that he will be taking names and cutting off funding to nations who voted in favor of this resolution. Fox News, fair and balanced.
People make your business work. But how do you find the right talent? ZipRecruiter. One click posts your job to over 100 top job boards. Then, smart matching technology instantly alerts quality candidates about your job. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
To try ZipRecruiter for free, just go to ZipRecruiter.com/trial. That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
Have pain you can't ignore? Then try first-in-class relief from Salonpas. Salonpas pain relief patches have everything you need in one clinically proven solution. They're the strongest label pain reliever available without a prescription, safely relieving pain for up to 12 hours. And Salonpas is the first and only FDA-approved OTC topical pain reliever. For first-in-class relief, get Salonpas pain relief patches in the green box with a blue wave.
The opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants, the hosts, the guests, and the callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions and views of Southern Stone Communications, WNDB Radio, its employees, and friends. Comments regarding WNDB's programming can be addressed to D. Lang at DaytonaRadio.com.
Live from Daytona Beach, Florida, bringing a voice to America's forgotten working class, speaking the truth for the America that Washington left behind, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. This is Trump Talk Live, where we the people have the right voice, presented by the Republican Party of Volusia County. Now, here are your hosts, Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter.
Greetings, fellow American Patriot Trumppublicans, and welcome to the Tax Reform Christmas Gift. Trump Doctrine on National Security, Mueller Muddled Mess, Obama-Iran Collusion, Saudi Showdown, North Korea Squeeze, Jerusalem Against the World episode of Trump Talk Live, the home of fearless truth-telling about President Donald Trump and the most consequential first year in recent presidential history. Well, he did it, Americans. Congress has passed the most important tax reform bill of our generation without a single Democrat vote. Ebenezer Chuck Schemer lies to our faces, claiming Republicans will rue the day. He lies to the American people, claiming this tax bill is a gift to the rich. Nothing could be further from the truth. This historic legislation is a middle-class miracle. It gives millions of lower-income Americans a tax bill of zero and dramatically reduces the tax burden on millions of hardworking middle-class families. The personal exemption is doubled. The death tax and AT&T are rolled back. Corporate taxes are dropped from the highest in the civilized world to among the lowest. Many loopholes are closed and the tax code is simplified for most Americans. Most of you will be able to do your taxes on a simple postcard. Bad news for H&R Block. Take-home pay will increase starting in February. Businesses will grow, invest, and hire again. and this economy is about to roar. That's how you do real stimulus, Mr. Obama. Senator Schemer, Fancy Nancy, somebody will rue the day that tax reform happened, but the Democrats and their liar-for-hire minion mediocrat accomplices will be burdened with regret. The American people are smart enough to figure out that they've been deceived for decades. The proof will be in the paychecks. As Speaker Paul Ryan says, isn't it about time you got to spend your own money instead of giving it to Washington to waste it? Oh, and the tax bill comes with 2 huge Christmas bonuses. That horrendous, intrusive, expensive, unaffordable Obamacare individual mandate is gone. And we can start exploring for oil in Alaska's Anwar district. Energy independence and dominance will keep America prosperous and put us in control of our own energy destiny. This tops off a year of milestone accomplishments in presidential leadership. President Trump has unveiled his bold national security strategy, built on 4 fundamental pillars: protecting the American people from enemies foreign and domestic, promoting American prosperity to ensure a legacy for generations to come, peace through strength, defending our allies and warning our adversaries against threats of war, advancing American influence around the world, abandoning Obama's weak policy of leading from behind. The American people are forgotten no more. We're putting Americans first again. President Trump called on Gulf states and majority Muslim nations to drive the radical Islamic terrorists from the earth. Saudi Arabia is now leading that effort. He's called on NATO allies to pick up their fair share of common defense and the United Nations to stop wasting money on corrupt programs that target Israel for extinction. He's recognized the ancient holy city of Jerusalem as the one true eternal capital of Israel, standing up against a clueless world. He's met North Korean nuclear threats with a warning that any attack would be met with fire and fury. He's refused to certify the dangerous Iran nuclear deal, warning the world of the threat posed to Israel, Saudi Arabia, and other nations by the radical Islamic terrorist state. While Obama drew meaningless red lines, Trump has triggered cruise missile strikes against Assad after he used chemical weapons against his own people. Obama called ISIS a minor league team. President Trump has actually defeated these savage killers. Under the president's leadership, ISIS has lost nearly all of its territory and its most important strongholds in Iraq and Syria. We've restored old alliances, forged new ones, begun rebuilding our military, and made it clear to the world that there is no greater ally, no more fearsome adversary than the United States of America. President Trump has restored confidence and hope in American enterprise, creating nearly 1.7 million new jobs, dropping unemployment to 4.1%, the lowest in 17 years. The stock market has reached record highs more than 70 times, with the Dow closing above 24,000 for the first time in history. It's tickling at 25,000 now. President Trump has rolled back 22 regulations for every 1 new rule, saving taxpayers more than $8 billion and liberating America from the grip of bloated federal bureaucracy. He's withdrawn from or he's begun renegotiating trade deals that once threatened to destroy American industry and ship our jobs overseas. So long to the TPP, the Paris Climate Scam Accord, and NAFTA as we knew it. He's put America on a path to energy independence and dominance, improving the Keystone XL and Dakota Access pipelines, ending the EPA's job-choking war on coal, and opening Anwar to responsible energy exploration under the new tax reform bill. President Trump is defending America's borders. We've seen the lowest level of illegal border crossings on record. We've ended Obama's dangerous catch-and-release policies, restoring law and order to the border and interior. And we've designed and built 8 prototypes of a new border wall. It's going to be built, folks. President Trump has reshaped the American judiciary for generations. Justice Gorsuch was confirmed to the Supreme Court, and 22 judges have been confirmed, including a record-setting 12 circuit judges. We protected life by reinstating and expanding the Mexico City policy that protects $9 billion in U.S. taxpayer dollars from being used to fund abortions. While all this happens, desperate Democrats are doing their worst to prop up the badly tarnished reputation of Bob Mueller and his team of Clintonista Trump haters. We need to prosecute the prosecutors. They violated the Hatch Act. They defied their oath to defend the Constitution. It's a house of cards filled with jokers. Trump Talk Live comes to you live from the Daytona Beach studios of WNDB 93.5 FM and 1150 AM on the dial, with the capable assistance of Phil Kincaid at the audio controls. You can listen to us online by going to TrumpTalkLive.com and clicking on the link. You can watch this live web stream of our broadcast on Facebook or YouTube. Just go to the Volusia County Republican Facebook page to see our live web stream, or watch us live on YouTube by searching for Trump Talk Live on the Vic Baker channel. Our thanks as always to Phil, who rides the audio controls and brings you all the voices, and to Tom Sasan. Where are you, Tom? There you are, filling in for Volusia County TAR's Chairman Duncan DeMarche. Tom brings you the pictures and graphics tonight on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you, Tom. I'm your Trumpublican truth teller, Vic Baker, hosting Trump Talk Live alongside the local party leader Democrats love to hate, Volusia County Republican Chairman Tony Ledbetter.
Thank you, Vic. It's definitely a fantastic week, a fantastic day. Yesterday, getting the tax bill, the tax cut passed. I really believe that when the Democrats say rue the day, the only people that's going to be in the doghouse over the next year or so is the Democrats. Not one single Democrat decided to do anything to help the American people save money. And I really do believe this too. I've talked about this in the past, where the Democrats are going to be in the wilderness for many, many years, and every year that President Bush stays in office, he's going to push them further and further and further into the woods, because the American people will not believe their lies anymore, because the fake news media, well, somebody said, I think it was yesterday, that hell froze over. Because one of the fake news people actually said something positive about the tax bill. So we'll see what happens. But it's a fantastic day. We've known this since President Trump took the oath of office, that he was going to do exactly what he said, and that's what he did yesterday. So what else we got coming, Vic?
Yes, and we do mean President Trump. President Bush was that other guy that was in the White House.
Yeah,
didn't do such a good job. But just so you know, the House passage of the tax reform bill had only 12 votes, most of them from California, New Jersey, New York, the states that are hard-pressed because they're so high tax.
Yeah, the high tax states, right.
Exactly. So now let's listen to Paul Ryan give his explanation and rationale on the House floor. He gave a passionate speech before they gave what they thought was their final passage. They had to come back and pass it one more time.
Because of the Democrats.
Because of, some rules in the Senate, but that didn't make any difference. Let's listen to what the typical median income family benefits from this bill.
With this tax reform, families at every income level get a tax cut, but especially middle-income families. The typical family of four making the typical income of $73,000 will get a tax cut of $2,059. Let me repeat that. The typical family of four making the median family income gets a $2,059 tax cut next year. This is real relief. This is real relief, and people are going to see this in their paychecks before too long. Look, you've all heard us say it, but it is very true. More than half the people in this country are living paycheck to paycheck. Almost another half are people who are telling us that they're about one paycheck away from living paycheck to paycheck. There's real economic anxiety in America. But there's so much potential for our people, for our country, for our economy.
There's so much potential. Now, what is it going to do for small businesses? What about the mom and pop businesses, Paul?
Small businesses and Main Street businesses, that's where most of the jobs come from. They get real relief in addition to the families. Workers are going to get a more level playing field. That's going to boost wages. That's going to bring more jobs back home. This is going to make such a positive difference in the lives of everyday working Americans from all walks of life.
And, Paul, how do you feel about this fulfilling your obligation to the voters who sent you there?
This is the greatest example of a promise being made and a promise being kept. It's been a long, long time. It's an honor to be Speaker of the House to see this. The last time this got done, the job I had, I was working the Quarter Pounder Grill at McDonald's at the intersection of Highway 14 and 990 in Janesville, Wisconsin. It's a long time in coming, and that's why we're so excited to see this happen.
It's amazing, and we're going to go to a break momentarily because we're running out of time, but They asked him, why do you think the tax cuts are so unpopular? He said, well, if the media lies to you for 6 months straight and the Democrats lie to you for 6 months straight, you got a good reason to think it's not going to help. But once they start seeing their paychecks fatten on the 1st of February, because the withholding will take less, Uncle Sam will take less out of your paycheck, you're going to see the difference. And the closing argument of the speaker, I'll give that to you after the break when we also take you to the celebration of the White House when Trump Talk Live returns.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Stay tuned for more Trump Talk Live, speaking for the America the DC elites forgot.
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
Are you near retirement age? Are you thinking about future living arrangements? Then Alliance Community in DeLand is the smart choice, with a maintenance-free lifestyle and the flexibility of options such as private homes, duplexes, assisted living, rehab, skilled nursing, or memory care. You don't have to wonder about your future care. Alliance Community in DeLand is designed to work with your individual lifestyle in mind. Plan early and take control of your future. Don't rely on someone else to decide for you. Visit alliancecommunity.org to learn more.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Welcome back, Trumpublicans. We're back with more. Let's go right to the White House because the speeches on the floor of the House are almost anticlimactic after the passage. They all rode buses down to the White House, South Portico of the White House, to celebrate on the Truman balcony portico with President Trump. And the president stepped up to the podium and immediately had an announcement that something that happened as a result of tax reform getting passed that very moment. Let's hear what the president had to say.
This just came out 2 minutes ago. They handed it to me. AT&T plans to increase U.S. capital spending $1 billion and provide $1,000 special bonus to more than 200,000 U.S. employees, and that's because of what we did. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Now, this is huge relief for American families. Let's talk about it, Mr. President. What do you have to say?
$3.2 trillion, just think of it, in tax cuts for American families, including doubling the standard deduction and doubling the child tax credit. The typical family of four earning $75,000 will see an income tax cut of more than $2,000. They're going to have $2,000, and that's, in my opinion, going to be less than the average. You're going to have a lot more than that.
Well, and there's something else we've had for years called the death tax. Remember what was it Mark Twain who said, said, one thing will always be with us, death and taxes, right?
Yeah.
Well, the death tax will, for the most part, no longer be with us because they've raised the limits now. So mom and pop farms and businesses are saved. Let's listen to what the president says about that.
One thing very important for the farmers, the great farmers and the great small business owners that were forced to sell their businesses at bargain basement numbers. We have provided, for the most part, estate taxes wiped out so they can keep their farms in the family, and that to me is a very big factor, very big.
And as a result of this tax reform, companies are already making plans to come back to the United States from overseas and reinvest.
This is going to mean companies are going to be coming back. You know, I campaigned on the fact that we're not going to lose our companies anymore. They're going to stay in our country, and they're going to stay in our country. And you've been seeing what's been happening even at this prospect. But they have tremendous enthusiasm right now in this country, and we have companies pouring back into our country. And that means jobs, and it means really the formation of new, young, beautiful, strong companies. So that's going to be very, very important.
All of which brings to mind the popular phrase that makes Fancy Nancy and Chuck Schumer wake up in a cold sweat in bed every night. Oh, my God, that phrase. Let's hear it.
We are going to bring at least $4 trillion back into this country, money that was frozen overseas and in parts and worlds, and some of them don't even like us, and they had the money. Well, they're not going to have the money long. And so it's really, I guess it's very simple when you think you haven't heard this expression, but we are making America great again. You haven't heard that, have you?
Amen.
As Chuck and Nancy wake up in a cold sweat. And after decades of trying and failing, we have liberated Anwar from the eco-terrorists.
A friend of mine called up about Anwar. He's in the office. He said, "You didn't get Anwar." And I said, "Tell me about Anwar." He said, "We've been trying to get that passed. The whole country, the world, they tried in Ronald Reagan. They tried with the Bushes. They tried with everybody. They never got Anwar. But we got Anwar in this bill. So we have Anwar, we have mandate, and we have the tax cut, and we have the reform."
And they're not saying ditch Mitch anymore. He was pretty popular at the White House yesterday.
Well, let me just say, Mr. President, you made the case for the tax bill, but this has been a year of extraordinary accomplishment for the Trump administration. We've cemented the Supreme Court right of center for a generation. Mr. President, thanks to your nominees, we put 12 circuit court judges in place, the most since the circuit court system was established in 1891. You hold the record. You've ended the overregulation of the American economy. And that, coupled with what we did last night and what the House finished this morning, means America is going to start growing again. Thank you, Mr. President, for all you're doing.
Everybody was backslaps and happy smiles. And then Paul Ryan stepped up to the podium to take his share of the credit.
What this represents is a promise that each and every one of us made to the American people last year, is a promise that is kept today. Something this big, something this generational, something this profound could not have been done without exquisite presidential leadership. Mr. President, thank you for getting us over the finish line. Thank you for getting us where we are. Really. I just want to quickly just say a thanks, because this has been such a team effort from everybody. I want to thank Gary Cohn and Steve Mnuchin from the President's economic team for what they did to get us here. I want to thank my partner, Mitch McConnell, over in the Senate for getting us to where we are. And I want to thank these two chairmen, Orrin Hatch and Kevin Brady. Thank you so much for your leadership on this.
I'll be back on camera in a second. Okay, so a couple of news items just to let you know. The Senate just passed a temporary spending bill. There will be no shutdown. And a federal judge has thrown out 2 lawsuits challenging President Trump on the emoluments clause, that would making profit from foreign entities. The court said this is not our domain. This is for Congress to decide.
Right.
That's a political matter, not a judicial matter. So
well, it's fantastic. Senate, the senators aren't going to get their way and shut the government down, because we control the House and the Senate.
That's right. And so forget about no Grinch stealing Christmas this year. My son-in-law who works, by the way, at Social Security, doesn't have to worry about his paycheck. But, you know, Mike Pence stepped up he said some very nice things about the president. We've heard that before. But basically, in the old days, there was the first sound film. There was Al Jolson. He said, "You ain't seen nothing yet?" Well, that's pretty much what Vice President Pence said. Cut 12.
We're just getting started. And I can assure you, this president and this entire administration will not rest and relent until the forgotten men and women of America are forgotten no more. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your love for this country and the people of this country. And I know in my heart, with the strong continued support of the members of Congress who are gathered on these steps, and with God's help, you will make America great again.
And Senator Tim Scott, South Carolina, stepped up to say what he thinks this plan will do for America.
This is a plan that we can be proud of because it speaks to the hearts of everyday Americans.
that gets the prize for the shortest speech of the day. Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski, who's has often not been on the same page with the president, was certainly on the same page with regard to ANWR and freeing that up for careful, responsible exploration to create a situation where we could tap the largest supply of oil in the world and make us energy dominant. Let's hear what she had to say.
I don't know if you've recognized this is a very historic day, of course, but it's also the beginning of winter solstice. Now, it doesn't feel like it right now, but the winter solstice is the shortest day, the darkest day. And for us in Alaska, we've had some pretty dark days recently. But with passage of this tax bill, with passage finally, almost 40 years later, to allow us to open up the 1002 area, this is a bright day for Alaska. This is a bright day for America. All right. So we thank you for that. We thank you for that. Think about it. 31 years we've been working on tax reform. 38 years now to open up ANWR. This has been a multi-generational fight. And I look to some of our friends from Alaska who have come 5,000 miles to be here for the vote last night and today. Yeah. To those who live there, to those who raise their families there, and to those who are looking to live for generations, know that our promise to you today is a bright future, one where we care for our environment, where we care for our people, and we also care for our country in providing a resource that is needed not only by the United States, by Alaskans, but by our friends and allies. This, Mr. President, is what energy dominance is all about. So let's go.
Let's go. Feels good, folks. Now then, Senator Orrin Hatch, the Dean of the Senate, the Chairman of the Finance Committee who shepherded this bill through the Senate, Orrin Hatch stepped up. Now, Orrin Hatch is 80 years old. He's starting to sound his age, but listen to this wise man. Tell us what this president has meant to him and to the country he served so long and so well.
Well, Mr. President, I have to say that you're living up to everything I thought you would. You're one heck of a leader, and we're all benefiting from it. This bill could not have passed without you, couldn't have passed without the Alaskan delegation, couldn't have passed without the leadership in the House and the Senate, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, and the other leaders as well. All I can say is that we're making headway. This is just the beginning. You stop and think about it. This president hasn't even been in office for a year. And look at all the things that he's been able to get done by sheer will in many ways. And I just hope that we all get behind him every way we can, and we'll get this country turned around in ways that will benefit the whole world. But above all, benefit our people and bring us all to a realization of how really great America really is, and how the rest of the world depends on us. I love this country. I came from very humble roots, and I have to say that this is one of the great privileges of my life to stand here on the White House lawn with the President of the United States, who I love and appreciate so much, and with these wonderful colleagues and cabinet members who stand behind us. And to see all of you and realize that you care too. All I can say is that God loves this country. We all know it. We wouldn't be where we are without him. And we love all of you. And we're going to keep fighting, and we're going to make this the greatest presidency that we've seen, not only in generations, but maybe ever. God bless all of you.
Thank you. Amen.
You know something, Tony? There's not much to say after that.
Nope.
So I think we'll go to break and we'll come back after this message.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Don't touch that dial. More Trump Talk Live is moments away, where we the people have the right voice.
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
The holidays are in full swing in Daytona Beach with a December to remember. Head to the band shell all through December for fun holiday activities, shopping, live music, plenty of fun for everyone with a sand sculpture trail, train rides, and of course, Santa. Bring the family to a December to remember through December 31st at the band shell. For more information and a schedule, visit DecemberDaytona.com. Sponsored by the City of Daytona Beach and brought to you by WNDB.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
All right, we're back. Talk a few minutes about our sponsors. We have Marino's Pizza in DeLand. She's been with us since the beginning. Keith Milne Roofing. And also Sonia Mori, the State Farm agent over in the DeLand area. So if you have an opportunity to do business with any of those people, we appreciate it because they do support Trump Talk Live.
All right, thank you, Tony. Let's go on to President Trump's other bookend of this year, national security, and he framed it in 4 pillars that have to do not just with Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, but also the national economy, protecting the American economy and prosperity. And so let's listen to the president talking about, well, we talked about the failures of the past. We know about the failures of the past. We're not going to, let's start with number 3. Past leaders crippled our national security by hobbling our economy.
They put American energy under lock and key. They imposed punishing regulations and crippling taxes. They surrendered our sovereignty to foreign bureaucrats in faraway and distant capitals. And over the profound objections of the American people, our politicians left our borders wide open. Millions of immigrants entered illegally. Millions more were admitted into our country without the proper vetting needed to protect our security and our economy. Leaders in Washington imposed on the country an immigration policy that Americans never voted for, never asked for, and never approved. A policy where the wrong people are allowed into our country and the right people are rejected. American citizens, as usual, have been left to bear the cost and to pick up the tab.
The American people have forgotten no more, says the Mr. President Trump. We are putting America first. And let's listen to what he says the first duty of government is.
The first duty of our government is to serve its citizens, many of whom have been forgotten. But they are not forgotten anymore. With every decision and every action, we are now putting America first. We are rebuilding our nation, our confidence, and our standing in the world. We have moved swiftly to confront our challenges, and we have confronted them head on. We are once again investing in our defense, almost $700 billion, a record this coming year. We are demanding extraordinary strength, which will hopefully lead to long and extraordinary peace. We are giving our courageous military men and women the support they need and so dearly deserve. We have withdrawn the United States from job-killing deals such as the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the very expensive and unfair Paris Climate Accord. And on our trip to Asia last month, I announced that we will no longer tolerate trading abuse. We have established strict new vetting procedures to keep terrorists out of the United States, and our vetting is getting tougher each month. To counter Iran and block its path to a nuclear weapon, I sanctioned the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps for its support of terrorism, and I declined to certify the Iran deal to Congress.
Now, another important point he makes, and this has already been happening, is that he has called on the Gulf states and Muslim majority nations to join in the fight against Islamist terrorist ideology and terrorist financing. And they have responded. Let's listen.
Following my trip to the Middle East, the Gulf states and other Muslim majority nations joined together to fight radical Islamist ideology and terrorist financing. We have dealt ISIS one devastating defeat after another. The coalition to defeat ISIS has now recaptured almost 100% of the land once held by these terrorists in Iraq and in Syria. Great job. Great job. Really good. Really good. Thank you. Thank you. We have a great military. We're now chasing them wherever they flee, and we will not let them into the United States. In Afghanistan, our troops are no longer undermined by artificial timelines, and we no longer tell our enemies of our plans. We are beginning to see results on the battlefield, and we have made clear to Pakistan that while we desire continued partnership, we must see decisive action against terrorist groups operating on their territory. And we make massive payments every year to Pakistan. They have to help.
Also, our president has told our NATO allies the free ride is over. It's time for you to pick up your prosperous. It's time for you to pick up a fair share of the cost, the considerable cost of providing a common defense for Western Europe and Western civilization, for that matter. Let's listen.
Our efforts to strengthen the NATO alliance set the stage for significant increases in member contributions, with tens of billions of dollars more pouring in, because I would not allow member states to be delinquent in the payment while we guarantee their safety and are willing to fight wars for them. We have made clear that countries that are immensely wealthy should reimburse the United States for the cost of defending them. This is a major departure from the past, but a fair and necessary one.
You know, one thing that needs to be talked about now is the fact that, you know, he has done this, and he said that he was going to do this, and it's very important that, you know, in less than a year, President Trump has almost destroyed ISIS. So we have to wonder what in the world Obama did for 8 solid years and spending billions and billions of dollars. What did he do? Where did all that money go, and what was it wasted on? President Trump needs to be applauded and thanked for doing what he's done to help destroy this evil in our time.
As we'll hear later in the program, we have some information that Obama was actually playing the other side a little bit.
Yep.
So, okay, now, the other thing that he's done differently than his previous predecessors is he has stood up to North Korea and told them, stop the nonsense. Let's listen to that.
Our campaign of maximum pressure on the North Korean regime has resulted in the toughest ever sanctions. We have united our allies in an unprecedented effort to isolate North Korea. However, there is much more work to do. America and its allies will take all necessary steps to achieve a denuclearization and ensure that this regime cannot threaten the world. Thank you. This situation should have been taken care of long before I got into office. when it was much easier to handle. But it will be taken care of. We have no choice.
And it will not end well for Kim Jong-un, I can guarantee you that. Also, part of the strategy, liberating the engine of American enterprise, the most powerful free enterprise engine ever to be created by humankind. Let's listen to that.
At home, we are keeping our promises and liberating the American economy. We have created more than 2 million jobs since the election. Unemployment is at a 17-year low. The stock market is at an all-time high, and just a little while ago hit yet another all-time high, the 85th time since my election. We have cut 22 regulations for every one new regulation, the most in the history of our country. We have unlocked America's vast energy resources. As the world watches, and the world is indeed watching, we are days away from passing historic tax cuts for American families and businesses. It will be the biggest tax cut and tax reform in the history of our country. Thank you. Thank you.
The strategy that he laid out in 68 pages is called the strategy of principled realism. So it's based on that principle, realize that it has 4 vital components. We're going to start with cut 11 now. Let's go with the first one.
First, we must protect the American people, the homeland, and our great American way of life. This strategy recognizes that we cannot secure a nation if we do not secure our borders. So for the first time ever, American strategy now includes a serious plan to defend our homeland. It calls for the construction of a wall on our southern border, ending chain migration and the horrible visa and lottery programs, closing loopholes that undermine enforcement, and strongly supporting our Border Patrol agents, ICE officers, and Homeland Security personnel. In addition, our strategy calls for us to confront, discredit, and defeat radical Islamic terrorism and ideology, and to prevent it from spreading into the United States. And we will develop new ways to counter those who use new domains such as cyber and social media to attack our nation or threaten our society.
We're running a little short on time, so I'm not going to go through more of the sound, but the other pillars, promoting American prosperity, which of course we've got. And then the third is peace through strength. We've already discussed that. We're rebuilding our military. The fourth pillar is advancing American influence around the world. You've seen that, whether they want to go along or not. We're leading. We're not following anymore. So founding principles, we the people are sovereign. That's a big part of President Trump's strategy. You can find it at whitehouse.org if you want to read all 68 pages. It's quite compelling. It's pretty much a recounting, let's get the two-shot, Tony, recounting of actually the history of the first year of the Trump administration in 2 bookends. You know, national security strategy, which he's basically put together strategically now for the past year, and economic resurgence, which is happening with tax reform. And he has achieved the 2 key elements of any presidency. That is defending this country and making it prosperous.
Well, that's true. And the reason that he's able to accomplish this is because I've said this many, many times. President Trump is the type person that keeps his head down. He's like the firefighter. He's like the police officer that runs into danger. He just knows what he wants. He doesn't let people distract him. He does not let people interfere. He tweets, and it keeps all the people that hate him running around worrying about what the meaning of is. So, it's exciting to see him do what he does because he knows what he wants to do, and he's going to accomplish it. This going to go down in history, I believe, as one of the best years that any president has ever had in less than 12 months of his first term.
You're not alone in that analysis. Many Never-Trumper columnists are saying the same thing, much to the chagrin. So let's come back with a little cleanup of the Mueller muddled mess and Nikki Haley telling the United Nations where
to get off.
We're the American eagle in the woods. You know what I mean? We'll be back in a moment.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. We'll be back with more Trump Talk Live, restoring America's founding values 1 hour at a time.
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
For the first time ever, Daytona International Speedway will transform into a holiday spectacle when the biggest and brightest holiday tradition comes alive. It's Magic of Lights, a 1.5-mile drive-through holiday lights experience. Millions of lights and dazzling animation make this new holiday tradition a can't-miss for the whole family. One carload, one price. Tickets at magicoflights.com, benefiting the Florida Hospital Memorial Foundation, now through December 31st.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Well, you may have heard by now, and Tony certainly has heard it, that the United Nations General Assembly voted 100 and something to 6 or something like that to reject the United States selection of Jerusalem for its embassy location, and Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, which has been since the time of King David in the Old Testament. Okay, so that's not reflecting reality. The president reflects reality. So Nikki Haley spoke to the Security Council earlier this week, and she vetoed that resolution, which means any further votes are non-binding. Here's what she said to them about this.
What we witnessed here today in the Security Council is an insult. It won't be forgotten. It's one more example of the United Nations doing more harm than good in addressing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
And she said further, it has consequences.
They can vote on this issue again and again and again, even 100 more times, but it will never change the fact that Jerusalem is, has been, and always will be the eternal capital of Israel.
And here's what President Trump said at a cabinet meeting about what may happen as a result of them taking a vote like this.
For all of these nations that take our money and then they vote against us at the Security Council, or they vote against us potentially at the Assembly. They take hundreds of millions of dollars and even billions of dollars, and then they vote against us. Well, we're watching those votes. Let them vote against us. We'll save a lot. We don't care.
Amen.
There you go, Tony. And
we
now,
don't care.
Then the General Assembly today had their vote, but Nikki gave them a good spanking before it happened. So let's listen to her first comment.
Israel must stand up for its own survival as a nation, but it also stands up for the ideals of freedom and human dignity that the United Nations is supposed to be about. Standing here today, being forced to defend sovereignty and the integrity of my country, the United States of America, many of the same thoughts have come to mind. The United States is by far the single largest contributor to the United Nations and its agencies. We do this in part in order to advance our values and our interests. When that happens, our participation in the UN produces great good for the world. Together, we feed, clothe, and educate desperate people. We nurture and sustain fragile peace in conflict areas throughout the world. And we hold outlaw regimes accountable. We do this because it represents who we are. It is our American way. But we'll be honest with you. When we make generous contributions to the UN, we also have a legitimate expectation that our goodwill is recognized and respected. When a nation is singled out for attack in this organization, that nation is disrespected. What's more, that nation is asked to pay for the privilege of being disrespected. In the case of the United States, we are asked to pay more than anyone else for that dubious privilege. Unlike in some UN member countries, the United States government is answerable to its people. As such, we have an obligation to acknowledge when our political and financial capital is being poorly spent. We have an obligation to demand more for our investment. And if our investment fails, we have an obligation to spend our resources in more productive ways.
That was fairly long, but it was worth mentioning. Now, in case they didn't quite get what she was saying, she said, "Are you listening, world? Here's what this means."
The arguments about the president's decision to move the American embassy to Jerusalem have already been made. They are by now well known. The decision was in accordance to U.S. law dating back to 1995, and its position has been repeatedly endorsed by the American people ever since. The decision does not prejudge any final status issues, including Jerusalem's boundaries. The decision does not preclude a two-state solution if the parties agree to that. The decision does nothing to harm peace efforts. Rather, the president's decision reflects the will of the American people and our right as a nation to choose the location of our embassy. There is no need to describe it further. Instead, there's a larger point to make. The United States will remember this day in which it was singled out for attack in the General Assembly for the very act of exercising our right as a sovereign nation. We will remember it when we are called upon to once again make the world's largest contribution to the United Nations. And we will remember it when so many countries come calling on us, as they so often do, to pay even more and to use our influence for their benefit. America will put our embassy in Jerusalem. That is what the American people want us to do, and it is the right thing to do. No vote in the United Nations will make any difference on that. But this vote will make a difference on how Americans look at the UN and on how we look at countries who disrespect us in the UN. And this vote will be remembered.
Yeah, let's defund the place.
Now, at the same time, Yemen's Iran-backed rebels shot a missile at the Saudi royal palace this week, and it got shot down by the Saudis, but we could be on the verge of war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. More on that in a minute. Trey Gowdy wants to talk to McCabe, the FBI deputy director, whose fingerprints are all over this corrupt-based, biased witch hunt against Donald Trump. And, these comments and these struck text messages to his girlfriend. Devastating stuff. So let's listen to Gowdy talk about that stuff.
Andrew McCabe cuts across every facet of every investigation in 2016, and from Secretary Clinton's email to the investigation into the Trump campaign. He's the deputy director of the FBI. So there are a ton of questions, including the meeting between Agent Strzok and Lisa Page in, quote, Andy's office. We need to make sure that was Andy McCabe. And if they were coming up with a, quote, insurance policy in case Donald Trump won, that is devastating.
Yes, yep. and how bad is this, Congressman? What do you think?
This was a level of bias that you rarely see, frankly. When Strzok said the vote should be 100 million to 0, what he's saying is he can't think of a single one of his fellow citizens that would vote for Donald Trump. And then you add that, and Lisa Page said, well, maybe you stuck around, maybe you're in this position to save the country. And his response was, I can save the country in a lot of different ways. Unprecedented bias. He's in the middle of major investigations. Thank God he's gone, but I want to know how the hell he got there in the first place.
Drain the swamp in the FBI.
That's right. Now, back on camera. Now, we also are going to talk in a moment about Uranium One. If we got Uranium One, we'll get on camera first, and we'll do that. Uranium One. But we're talking about Strzok. Now, Strzok is also being investigated for Hatch Act violations because he's such a rabid Democrat. And so we go from there. And then we're also talking about FBI agents who probed the Uranium One deal, that dirty deal that Hillary Clinton was involved in that gave the Russians control of 25% of our uranium supply. It's now under Justice Department scrutiny for whatever that's worth. Now,
it looks like Sessions finally woke up.
There's Uranium One. It's not taking? Okay. All right. And now another thing. President Obama and Hezbollah, the Politico, which is not known as a right-wing website, has broken the story that President Obama's administration pulled in the reins on a DEA investigation of a drug cartel that was pumping millions of dollars worth of cocaine into the United States from Latin America. This particular drug ring, this drug cartel, was backed by Hezbollah, which was getting the money and using it to, guess what? Fund Iran and its terrorist agenda. And this is our president. And the reason is because he wanted Iran to make a nuclear deal, which was the worst nuclear deal we've ever made. So that's a big deal, right? Okay.
Yeah, treason.
Yeah, and we had the other big deal that's going on is Imran Awan, who was a
the car dealer,
technology aide for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And we have Ron DeSantis talking about his money laundering with a money from that was provided, some of it by Hezbollah, to set up a fake car dealership. Let's listen to Ron DeSantis, number one.
This is clearly some type of money laundering operation when you have this CIA car dealership, which really didn't have cars, and they had a fake staff.
And that was the name they gave it, CIA,
right.
So people know what we're talking
Exactly.
about. It's not a CIA car dealership.
Well, but I mean, I think people look at that, and they're probably doing that for a reason, or potentially we're doing it for a reason. So you have a situation, they're all making, the whole family, Awan, his wife, brothers, they're making like 160 grand a year, supposedly do this IT work. So that's equivalent to the highest ranking staffers in Congress, chiefs of staff. These guys, Awan was a little older. One of his brothers was like in his early 20s. He was working at McDonald's part-time. So this whole thing just right there stinks. But then what happened to all this money? And really there's no good explanation for it other than this is money that's being sent overseas. They had deep relationships with people in Pakistan, would travel there. The first $100,000 for the car dealership was given to them by an Iraqi with ties to Hezbollah.
Okay, so that's a lot of questions about that. What we don't have a question about, Tony, is the bottom line of what Trump has accomplished in his first year. The Democrats are squealing and braying like bruised donkeys because they are. That's what they are.
And they're going to squeal all the way through 2018. They're going to lie to us all the way through November 2018. And it's going to cost them elections in the House, and it's going to cost them elections in the Senate, because this tax package is going to benefit the American people, and they will know that.
Well, you know, people like Jim Stinson write, tax reform win may propel Trump, Mr. Bomb Thrower in Chief, to 2018 win. Trump's first year is starting to look like a big win. Rich Lowry and Byron York. Amid firestorms, Trump has a year of solid policy accomplishments. Can he keep it up? Yes, he can. Make America great again. Merry Christmas, America.
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
You've been listening to Trump Talk Live, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. Follow us at Volusia County Republican Party on Facebook or go to our website, TrumpTalkLive.com, for updates. Join your Trump-Publican hosts, Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter, for another fearless edition of Trump Talk Live next Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on WNDB 1150 AM and 93.5 FM. Trump Talk Live is presented each week by the Republican Party of Volusia County, where we the people have the right voice when it comes to defending America's founding values. In God we trust, in America we believe.
The Republican Executive Committee of Volusia County is responsible for the content of this advertising.
FM 93.5, AM 1150, WNDB Daytona Beach. Proud to be locally owned, a Southern Stone station.
The government stays open. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News.
The yeas are 66, the nays are 32. The motion to concur is agreed to.
With time to spare, the Senate passing a temporary spending bill that'll keep the government running through mid-January. The measure includes $2.1 billion in emergency aid for the Department of Veterans Affairs and a temporary fix to make sure states facing shortfalls from a children's health program won't have to kick kids off the program. The measure now heads to President Trump's desk. He has said he will sign it.